was invited here to talk a little bit about my entrepreneurial background, and I won't spend too much time. I was told to keep it brief. So what I'll do is I'll tell you about one of my ventures, which was the Coffee Lodge. I'm just curious, because I see there's a lot of new faces and students here in the crowd. How many have actually heard or been to the Coffee Lodge here in town? Great to hear. If you haven't, see me after, and we'll point you in that direction. I guess people ask me a lot, how did you get involved in the Coffee Lodge? What inspired you to do that? And it's an interesting question, because when I started out back in the 90s, I did not aspire to be an entrepreneur, and I think a lot of people don't. What I found, though, was that I had a real interest for learning new things. You know, what's going on with that business? Why are they doing that? Boy, I'd love to try something different. I was teaching here at the college, and I loved it because it gave me the flexibility to remain involved in my family business, which was in the restaurant business, and which was John's. And while I was there, I worked with my family and with a group of people. We had tremendous people, and we've grown that business to continue to grow it. But I always had the itch to do something on the side, and that something was to open a coffee shop. That's really what it was. I loved specialty coffee. It was hard to find in town, and I wanted to pursue that passion. And it was always in the back of my mind, and every entrepreneur has their story. My story was really quite simple. I was driving down Exmouth Street at the time and saw a closed up donut shop with a for lease sign in the window. And I thought, you know, that'd be a great spot for this coffee idea that I had. I pulled over, got the number of the real estate agent, and I think within a day or two I had leased the space, and then wondered, what do I do now? What did I just do? I walked into this old place, smelled like smoke and donuts and dirty grease, and I thought, what are we going to do with this? But I did have a bit of a vision as to what I wanted to do. Something different, something that you could not find in Sarnia at the time. At the time you couldn't. Back in the year 2000, you really couldn't find a specialty coffee. If I asked 10 people on the street what a latte was, half of them would look at me like I had 3 eyes. So I had a vision, make something a little nicer, a little different, but approachable. And that's really the origins of the Coffee Lodge. I sat down and drafted up a business plan, and that surprises some people. I talked to a lot of entrepreneurs who say, you know, business plans are all nice, but I just go with my gut. It's important to write a business plan. It's important to figure out what needs to be done to make this business work. Understanding that once you write that business plan, it's obsolete, but that's part of being in business. Writing up the business plan made me realize that, wow, I have to sell thousands and thousands of cups of coffee every month just to pay the rent. The business plan helps you really focus on what's important. What's it going to cost me to run this place? How much do I have to sell? But what I learned with the Coffee Lodge was, if you put your heart and soul into it, sometimes people will start to understand it, and sometimes they won't. So the beginnings of the Coffee Lodge were quite simple. I flew out to Seattle, which at the time was really the hotbed of specialty coffee, and I learned all I could about the specialty coffee business. I found some of the best roasters in the world, and I talked to them. And I was getting all these ideas on paper and making notes, and I came back to Sarnia and started working on the Coffee Lodge. And if you've been in it, you get a sense that it's done up like a lodge. That was inspired from a trip I'd taken to Banff to look at some more places and the feel that Banff has. And if you've been to Banff, you know what I mean. Warm, rustic lodges. It's a beautiful place. You want to be there, and I wanted to try to recreate that here in Sarnia. So the Coffee Lodge started with a poster I picked up in Banff. It's still on the wall, and that poster formed the basis of the Coffee Lodge. The colors on the wall came from the poster, the feel came from the poster, and everything else was developed organically. And what I mean by that, and the last point, the point I want to touch on, is the people. The success of the Coffee Lodge really was on the group of people that I put together in the beginning to help put it together. I hired a chef, coincidentally, from the college here, who was in the culinary program, who helped put together the first menu, much of which is still on the board today. Hired a great group of people who really got behind it, and together we put together what I thought was a great, fun environment. We got ready to open, we opened the doors, and guess what? Nobody came. You know, I guess the road bumps of being an entrepreneur. People started to trickle in over the first few months. I see an old customer, JD Booth here, who was one of our first. Thank you, JD, and I see some customers here. People would come in and it was more of a curiosity. They didn't really understand what it was. Where's my 99-cent coffee? Why did you take away the smoking area? These are some of the questions we were dealing with. Why can't I get donuts? And after a few months of fairly slow business that was growing daily, the pressure started. the pressure on, why don't you let people smoke? Why don't you bring back the donuts? Why don't you drop your prices and go back to a 99-cent menu? Because that's what the competition was doing and that's what everybody else was doing. I realized at that point that I had a decision to make. Do we try that road? Knowing full well that I probably couldn't compete with the donut shops. I couldn't make a donut if my life depended on it. I really didn't want to work in a smoky environment, and selling premium specialty coffee at 99 cents was not going to pay the rent. What we decided to do was really focus on what the Coffee Lodge was meant to be, and that's our guiding principles. Really good food, which was being driven by my chef and a really good team in the kitchen, and we put together a very simple but fresh menu of wraps that we still have to this day. Premium specialty coffee, priced at a point that was approachable. No, it's not the same as you get in a donut shop, but it's approachable, and it's the best coffee you will get anywhere in the world, and I stand by that today. To this day, one of my primary jobs at Coffee Lodge is to make sure the coffee's right. We bring in only Ghirardelli chocolate from San Francisco. To this day, we haven't changed that. We've tried a few different suppliers. We feel that by using Ghirardelli chocolate, which at the time was another entrepreneurial company in San Francisco back in 2000, which today has grown, and I'm sure you see them on supermarket shelves, but they have the best chocolate when mixed with espresso. These little things, they seem trivial, but they're actually what helped us distinguish the Coffee Lodge and make it what it is. And that really is the story of the birth of the Coffee Lodge. And I could go on and on today about what the Coffee Lodge is, but I'll finish up with where it's going. A lot of people ask, what is the deal with the Coffee Lodge? Are you going to make more of these? Well, the reality is this. We decided a few years ago that what we wanted to be with the Coffee Lodge was something that was local, something that was well loved, and something that would stand for something. What we stand for is quality and being something that's iconic in Sarnia and Lambton. And we've decided to build on that, and that is something we're going to focus on over the next few years. We've had pressure over the years. People have asked us to open them in other cities. And we've decided, at this point, that's not the business we want to be in. That may change, as all business plans do change. That really is where we are today and where we're going. We love what we are. We love that we're a community meeting point for people throughout the city and the county. We're out in Petrolia, and that's really the story of the Coffee Lodge. And my takeaway from all of this is I've enjoyed every minute of it. I've enjoyed dealing with the people. I think you have to be in a business where you like what you do. I love dealing with people. I love teaching people. I think I got that from here at the college. I just love working with people and watching them grow, and that's something. I see quite a few people who've worked at the Coffee Lodge over the years, including Jeff here, who helped open one of my stores. Great guy, Jeff. He helped us establish Coffee Lodge out in Petrolia. Thank you, Jeff, for that. So, lessons from all this. I guess to wrap it up and to fit with the theme, I want to talk about education. Because over the years, I've heard entrepreneurs say to me, you really don't need to go to school to be an entrepreneur. You really don't have to do this. You really don't have to do that. And I guess my answer to that is, no, you don't. But why wouldn't you? I guess I liken it to someone who's building a house and doesn't have the right tools. The more tools you have in your tool chest, the easier it is. Have we made mistakes as entrepreneurs? Yes. I think I probably have the record in this room of having made the most mistakes, making some of the dumbest decisions ever. But you learn from them and move on. And where education comes in is the more you can see what others are doing, the more you can watch and observe other businesses, the more you learn from them, and the less likely you are to make these mistakes as often.